Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Admissions Live. Let me turn off my echo. There we go. This is your weekly web show for college admissions professionals. We are a part of the HigherEdLive network, and we're brought to you each week by four fantastic sponsors. We're here to deliver professional development and digital empowerment. This week we have Ben Castleman and Lindsay Page joining the show, and we're talking about college counseling in the summer after high school, and how that can impact whether or not students enroll in college. Ben and Lindsay are going to discuss research that they've been doing, intervention programs that they've been testing, and how these intervention programs might help suppress summer melt and support enrollment and retention. So I want to get right to the show, but before we can do that, I do want to give a great shout out and thank you to the sponsors that make Admissions Live possible. Admissions Live is sponsored by Scavenger, a Google-funded mobile game about going places, doing challenges, and earning points. Check out how Oakland University replaced their traditional campus tours by using Scavenger University. Admissions Live is sponsored by Welcome to College, who believe it's all in the visit and have created web and mobile applications to help institutions measure and manage their most critical recruitment tool, the college visit. Visit welcometocollege.com to learn more or tweet at Welcome to College about a demo. Admissions Live is also sponsored by Zinch.com, the preferred destination by over 3 million students to research schools and scholarships, and to showcase themselves as more than a test score. Over 1,000 colleges and universities around the world partner with Zinch to attract and enroll best fit students on the largest college search social network in the world. To learn more about Zinch, email outreach@zinch.com or tweet at socialadmission. And lastly, tonight, Admissions Live is sponsored by Enroll. They are the creators of the Schools app on Facebook. You can check out their webinar series about how private social networks can increase yield and retention. That happens every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and we just sent out a tweet with that link. So I want to give you a brief intro to my guest this evening. Ben Castleman is a doctoral candidate in the Quantitative Policy Analysis program at Harvard, and that's quite a mouthful for me. So he's in the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Lindsay Page is also joining us this evening. She's a senior research manager for the Strategic Data Project at the Center for Education Policy Research and a lecturer in the statistics program at Harvard University. Lindsay's also a graduate from the doctoral program that Ben is currently in, and they have a whole lot of experience. Ben's held a number of teaching fellowships at Harvard, including 2 Harvard Presidential Instructional Technology Fellowships. In addition, he serves as a residential proctor at Harvard College, supporting the academic and personal development of Harvard freshmen. He's also very interested in early childhood education and development, and serves as the president and of the board of directors of the Oxford Street Daycare Center at Harvard University. Before coming to Harvard, Ben was a teacher and district administrator at the Met Center School, and that's in Providence, Rhode Island. He's a graduate of Brown University. Lindsay recently, as I mentioned, received her EDD in Quantitative Policy Analysis from Harvard Graduate School of Education. Prior to her doctoral work, Lindsay's worked as a research analyst. She holds a master's degree in statistics from Harvard University, a master's in administration, planning, and social policy from the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and a bachelor's degree from Dartmouth College. So I'm really excited to welcome these two to the show, and I'm hoping that everything is going well for us technology-wise and that you're able to hear us. So I'm going to bring both of you on. You able to hear me over there?
Yes.
Okay,
it's
fantastic.
Breaking up a little bit, but we'll do our best.
Okay, yes, we will do our best here. And I'm just going to quickly add another shot to our show so that we can get both of us on the screen. Just take me 1 second here. Nope, that's not going to do it. Hang with me, folks, as I make a quick adjustment. All right. All right, well, I have you both on the screen there. You might want to back up just a little bit so we can see both of your faces. And I want to thank you for coming on. Can we start by just having you do a little more of an introduction to yourself? Tell me about what your specific interests are and how you got involved in the research that you're going to be talking about with us today.
Sure. So I think both of us, it's safe to say, are very interested in programs and policies to improve college access and college success for low-income and first-generation students. This particular focus that we have and that we've been working on together for a few years on how to address and mitigate summer melt among college-intending students is one that I first became aware of 5 years or so ago. I was working on a qualitative study with Karen Arnold, who's a professor at Boston College, and we had set out to interview a group of students who had graduated from an innovative network of high schools. They had paid tuition deposits to enroll in college, and our goal was to understand what their transition to college would be like. And we were very surprised to learn that up to a third of them reconsidered where and even whether to go to college in the months following high school. When we dug into it a bit more, they talked about a range of financial and informational barriers to their enrollment. But what stood out to us most was that students described how this was a unique 3-month period where they no longer had access to high school counselors. They were yet to really join their college and so didn't know who to turn to for support there. And most of them were the first in their family to go to college, so they didn't have someone at home who could help them deal with barriers as they arose. And so these were students who had done everything they were supposed to, and yet in the final months before matriculation ran into obstacles that they were unable to surmount.
Great. Really great points leading into the rest of the conversation that we're going to have tonight. Can we start first by talking about definitions of summer melt, your definition of summer melt, how colleges perceive what summer melt means?
Sure.
Sure. So summer melt, probably long before we began using the phrase summer melt has more traditionally been used by folks in institutions of higher education to talk about the students who had intended to enroll in that institution and didn't show up in the fall, but the assumption was always that those students probably went to another institution instead. So while they weren't enrolled in that specific college or university, the assumption was that they had matriculated elsewhere. So the definition of summer melt that we're using is a little bit different. What we're interested in is not per se where students are enrolling, but whether or not they're able to follow through with plans for post-secondary education. So by summer melt, we mean, or what we're looking at are students who at the time of high school graduation have specific intentions for post-secondary education, and they're not realizing those intended plans by the fall after high school graduation. So they're not enrolling anywhere.
Yeah, and that's what, I mean, you kind of hit the nail right on the head. Me as a college admissions professional, I'm thinking of the student not enrolling at my institution and assuming that they probably do have other plans, not that they're totally giving up on the dream to attend college altogether, but they've for some reason decided that my institution was not the best place for them. So I'm happy to have this conversation and kind of open our eyes to all the different possibilities of things that could be happening with a student that might mean them not going on to higher education whatsoever. So that's certainly part of the phenomenon that's important, but can you talk to us a little bit more about why this research is important, why this time period is so critical, and who's at risk for this kind of behavior? I know you're having some trouble hearing me, so I'm going to try to give you some cues as well. Let me see if I can give you some text cues here.
Okay. So I think that As I mentioned earlier, what came out of the first set of qualitative interviews we did, I think one of the reasons why the time is so critical is it's this unique 3-month period where students don't have access to help when they run into challenges. And as we've learned more about it, there are a lot of things students have to do over the summer, as I'm sure the admissions people on the show or watching the show will be well aware of, but that high school counselors, high school staff, and certainly high school students don't necessarily anticipate. So finalizing financial aid letters, distinguishing grants from loans, accessing and completing required college paperwork. We found in our more recent work that students often are unfamiliar with the college web portals that a lot of institutions now use to disseminate information, like my.harvard. And so they may not be logging on, they may have misplaced their login information, so they may not even be getting a lot of the paperwork that they're expected to complete or the emails that the college is sending them, reminding them to complete forms. And then there's tuition bills. Students may not anticipate some of the costs, like health insurance, which we have found often don't show up on the financial aid award letter, but may result in $2,000 additional that the students expect to pay. And for the population that we've worked with, that $1,000 or $2,000 can be the difference between whether a student and her family or his family feels that they're able to enroll. So I think, what we have found so far is that the populations most at risk of melting, not surprisingly, are those from less resource backgrounds, and particularly those who don't have help at home to kind of guide through the college process. I think what we are coming to think more and more is that our counselors are effectively proxying for what middle-class parents provide to their children, which is a lot of guidance through the process and a lot of help interpreting and getting paperwork. And for our population, a lot of times they don't have that, and so I think our counselors are filling that void.
Awesome. That is really, really important for us on the college side to understand, and hopefully these kinds of problems that students are running into are easily maybe brought to the surface at our own institutions. If it's something as simple as making sure every single dollar amount is included on the financial aid award up front. I know those things might be a battle in some cases for our institutions, but when we know that this is something that could make or break a student enrolling, I think we'll have a better understanding of its impact. And I know Ben and Lindsay are having some trouble hearing me, so I'm going to continue to give them some text cues as to what I'm